is alive.
I hate when people talk during the movie.
No wire hangers ever!
You're tearing me apart, Lisa!
Your stupid minds! Stupid! Stupid!
Relax. It's all in bad taste. Welcome to the podcast. It's podcast time with me. And me. You said to sing it.
I know, I did that.
And him, and her, and him, and them.
Just the four.
Oh, yeah. Right. What are we doing? Catwoman.
Cats.
Oh, Cats Part 2. Yeah, Jack, it's a trap. You're watching Cats again. Run.
The doors are locked.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bad Taste Buds, the podcast where we talk trash about the very best of the very worst in bad cinema. I am, as always, your host, Liam, and joining me today, we have, dressed head to toe in black spandex, the always sensual Jack. Give us a crack of your whip, Jack.
Meow.
Meow indeed. You should see him. It's so fucking sexy. And joining him today, we have a literal Catwoman, Hannah.
Meow.
Is this going to be like a running thing? Are you going to do it too? You better not. Joining Hannah. And last but not least, we have...
I'm feline fine.
I'm not.
Ryan.
I am not feeling fine. If you couldn't tell based off our horrendous cat puns, we are today...
Your horrendous cat puns. Mine was great.
I thought mine
Came up with that myself, by the way.
We just meowed.
Yeah, they weren't cat puns, they were just cat noises.
Exactly. So.
We are covering what is probably likely one of the most misguided attempts to ever adapt a comic book hero to the big screen of all time, with 2004's Catwoman, directed by Pitoff. And
misguided.
Apology.
Is that how you say that?
I was literally, if I'm pronouncing the director's name wrong, I do apologise. Pitof. I'm thinking either Pitoff or Pitov, maybe?
Pitov?
I don't know.
Either way, he hasn't made many films, so who cares? Starring Halle Berry and Sharon Stone. I've seen this film once. I was a hell of a lot younger. I think I was in my teen. I was 12, 13 or something.
Was it a sexual awakening for you?
Yeah, a sexual de-awakening. I went back into fucking never wanting to look at a sexy lady ever again.
Which is funny because one of us body doubles is a dude. Actually, I was just reading.
I remember that was a sexy one, right? I've seen it once. I remember thinking it was fucking hilarious. Like I remember even as a child when you have like no discerning abilities to like tell what is good and what is bad. I was like, this is bad and I love it.
Oh, I don't know. As a little gay boy, I was like, ooh, Catwoman, yeah.
She's got like that sexy dominatrix kind of thing going on, right? And this one is all like a leather-clad, ripped jeans kind of whip. Does she have a whip or am I making that up? Yeah, she does. Okay, cool.
Sticks onto a butt like a tail.
Right.
You're going to say she wasn't very good at it.
Does it?
Is it like a butt plug? One of those furry butt plugs?
Sticks on the back of the costume, yeah.
Really?
I'm sure. We'll find out when we watch it.
No. Right, okay, remember this moment and remember Ryan being wrong.
This may be the Mandela effect.
When did you guys first see this? Because I've got very little recollection.
In about 10 minutes time.
This is new for you, is it? Yeah. Right.
Have you actually never seen this film?
No, I've never seen it.
So I saw this film when I was a lot younger.
Same.
So it came out in 2004.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't have been... I'm pretty sure I saw it when it was more or less released. So must have been about 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And I remember quite enjoying it, but I was 10 or 11. And everything I've read since...
Those memories are false.
It exists in that weird space of time where they had zero clue how to really adapt a serious comic book character without it being kind of spandexy. I mean, X-Men was massive. Spider-Man, the Raimi Spider-Mans were massive, but we were still heavily in that like camp element of superheroes where they weren't really allowed to be too serious.
Didn't Batman Returns come out like a year later?
Well, Batman Begins.
Well, Batman Begins is often heralded as the beginning of that kind of darker phase of superheroes. So I think it might have even been a response to this. They were like, right, we can't do that shit again. let's try this better this time.
There was talk of just absorbing the character into Nolan's Batman, apparently, because the studio was hit and miss, like with getting it off the ground.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't.
I'm very glad they didn't as well.
Oh, could you imagine?
That being said, Anne Hathaway's Catwoman wasn't fucking great either. That was a weird blip in that film, wasn't it? In the Dark Knight,
I've just
Dark Knight Rises.
That out of my memory.
Yeah,
Highly
unmemorable. No, she's in it like most of the film.
She's like the main love interest in the last film, isn't she?
And she's very unmemorable.
I think I remember like 2 scenes of her.
This film was a seed of an idea that sprang up about 1992, like off the heels of Batman Returns, the Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
I take that from
Auntie Donna.
Auntie Donna, yeah. I've never been able to.
Getting the Pfeiffer vaccine when it comes out.
See, like obviously Michelle Pfeiffer was one of the big standouts from the Batman Returns film. She was kind of given the opportunity. I think the idea was kind of in 92 to give Michelle Pfeiffer the reins of the character of Catwoman and have the film be based around her version of Catwoman from the Burton films. It never really came to fruition. I'm not sure what.
No, it's because the costume's uncomfortable.
I've read that too.
Is that the entire? They couldn't
She
just
said
redesign.
the costume's uncomfortable and she didn't want to reprise the role. That's as much info as
They
I
couldn't
have.
just redesign the costume. They couldn't just like.
Well, you say that, but Halle Berry's costume also had problems. She said it was too tight. They had to readjust it several times, and the leather bra kept coming off. So she probably made the right call.
I mean, it is literally a gimp suit, basically.
It's
like
a
cat
stupid
suit.
fucking costume.
At least they didn't know. But the thing is, you either do the really uncomfortable costume, or you get the Green Lantern costume that we had with fucking Ryan Reynolds, and that was the worst thing I've seen.
CGI costume.
Still to this day, one of the worst things my eyes have ever beholden.
Still not seen that one either, but I know it's on the list.
Oh,
as
you
well.
should. It's
So if I've got
fucking
to
incredible.
We'll watch it at some
trade in
point.
uncomfortable costumes for horrendous CGI costumes, then yeah, fucking suffer. You're getting what paycheck would it be? I would be in a cat suit for 9 hours a day if I was getting the fucking paycheck they were getting. Man up.
The bra kept falling off.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's a little bit, yeah. I feel like it's a weird reason not to make the Pfeiffer Catwoman, because I feel like that was a movie that I would be really interested in.
They did
It
give
would
her a
have been
little
the same
nod.
movie, but it would have still been Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, but their Catwoman. It would still have been bad.
There isn't a part in the film where they've got like a picture of her like laid out. I don't really know
Yeah.
how that fits into
Yeah.
it
Well,
though,
it's-
because
It's just like an Easter egg, isn't it? A little
Well,
nod.
because this is
Yeah.
never described as Gotham. It's never referenced. You don't see any of the superheroes, and when she's been
she's-
shown all
this
the
was-
past Catwomen.
I was about to tag in on this.
Catwomen.
Because the character's name is Patience Phillips,
Yeah.
not Selena Kyle.
Yeah.
Which is the typical
Yeah.
Catwoman, as we discussed on the Batman and Robin and whatever Batman Forever thing we did a while ago
Yeah.
with Greg. But this one has like actual bona
nice
fide-
plug for our last episode. by the way.
Yeah.
Go watch
Well
it.
done.
Go listen to it. It's great.
I've forgotten the name of it. Batman Beyond, Batman Forever, Batman
Returns.
Returns was it?
It was the one that.
Oh, it was Batman and Robin for fuck's sake, wasn't it?
That was the one. Yeah. That was the one we did on our
Anyway,
episode. Yeah.
cut all of that.
Thanks, past Jack, for telling me to cut that.
No, but Selena Kyle is like, really like a burglar, sneaky,
She's a jewel thief,
dexterous. Well, that's how she starts off,
Yeah.
as a kind of anti-hero, sometimes on the right side of the law, sometimes on the wrong side of the law, which I think is something that is clearly a theme in the film. But she has like bona fide superpowers in this.
Yeah.
Well, it's basically like she gets bitten by a radioactive cat and
Well, of course,
gets like
this, Michelle
superhuman
Pfeiffer
reflexes.
had these superpowers as well, because she's in the picture of past Catwomen who've been blessed by the
Yeah,
cats.
apparently.
So
there's a whole
technically,
lineage of
she would have had those
Catwomen.
powers.
But going back to
That
the
just
jewel
makes no
thief,
sense.
the reason that past Catwomen and stuff were a jewel thief was more that they grew up on the streets, right?
Yeah, it's a whole
She
cat
just
burglar
gets
thing.
turned into a cat, and all of a sudden she's like a magpie.
Yeah, it's like leaning
does
into,
like a
leaning into the whole
magpie.
She's like, oh, shiny thing.
Not like a cat.
It does feel like
but
it is piggybacking off. There was this weird thing, especially with female superheroes. I was like, they didn't really know how to do it because Elektra came out at about this time. I don't know if any of you. I know you've seen Elektra, Ryan, and you have interesting thoughts about that movie. But that was another one where. But that was another one where they cast a big actor. I mean, Halle Berry was the biggest actress of the time, especially coming off roles like Die Another Day, Monsters Ball.
Yeah, it's like
Gothica.
Scarjo of the day, wasn't she?
She was definitely the Scarjo of the day. Fuck you, Ryan. Right, but I'm gonna put this on Mike because he just swore. He put his fingers up at me. I was gonna say that. I practiced saying that. I was like, I'm gonna make a reference to how she's like the Scarjo of her day.
Yeah, because you don't have enough lines already, Lee.
Apparently not. Yeah. But this was kind of the first instance of a female-led superhero going in completely awry to the point where we haven't really had many female-led superheroes up until Captain Marvel. Like there was this massive gap.
We're not going to blame Catwoman for. I mean, it might have contributed, but
definitely contributed.
sexism and misogyny is the main factor.
Well, no, it's Hollywood's
right?
fault. It's Hollywood's issue with the way they interpret femininity and especially female empowerment on screen, because her version of female empowerment in this movie is she wears a sexy catsuit and she has a whip, which is just warning signs immediately, right? So my superhero is BDSM. That's my superpower? Like, I'm BDSM woman.
Well, apparently not Halle Berry's, because she wasn't very good at cracking the whip, was she?
No. She had to practice for weeks and weeks and weeks on end to get it. But what was
like 90-minute
Michelle
sessions.
Pfeiffer apparently was.
She beheaded some mannequins. That's on the... Greg mentioned that, I think, on the last
Yeah.
episode.
Mentioned it, bitch.
Oh, was it you? Sorry. You just sound
Anyway,
so
credits
similar.
you.
No, but I haven't seen the whole film, but I've seen a few clips and stuff in preparation for this, and I totally get the point where it's like, what is female empowerment in films?
Yeah.
Like, especially late, not even late. Like, this is like 15 years ago, isn't it? This film,
2004. So yeah, about 15.
I saw a scene where she like fell off a building, nearly got hit by a car. The guy gets out to ask if she's okay, and then she like drops him and steals his car and makes some joke like, "I always land on my feet" or something. But I was like, so female empowerment is just assaulting random men on the street who try to stop and ask you for help when you nearly fucking got hit by
I don't know though.
It's a fine line, isn't it? They never seem to get the tone right with the femme fatale sort of
and they didn't again.
Women vibe.
They haven't until recently. Like Captain Marvel is the first one in memory that I can think of as a female-led superhero with the name in the title,
And the incels slated for it.
the incel slater for it. But this is the thing, like, even with Marvel was really late to the game as well, because Ant-Man and the Wasp was the first one where a female hero was in the title of any of the films, and even she was playing second fiddle to Ant-Man in that film.
I mean, I
At
think
least
one
she
of
got
the
the same costume.
Yeah.
one of the best ones is WandaVision, isn't it? That's just
Well,
come out.
WandaVision,
And,
yeah.
she was. But what I don't understand about why they did a Catwoman film is why did they not do something like Wonder Woman first? Like, hasn't Catwoman always been sort of like a background?
Yeah, she's a
DC
B-plot character.
Whereas Wonder Woman's
There's a lot of history with Wonder Woman in cinema and being an issue, because Joss Whedon, who fuck the guy by the way, I've not mentioned on this podcast, but Joss Whedon's a problematic dickhead, was meant to have a Wonder Woman film in development for about 20 odd years. It was meant to be one of the worst scripts you've ever read in your life. It was meant to be entirely sexist.
Could it get much worse than what we're about to watch?
Potentially.
Aren't you still watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer as we speak? Lee?
This is the thing.
No,
like,
Buffy's amazing.
Buffy
Buffy's
is.
one of the best shows of all time, but it's this time around, this will be my like fourth time watching it round, and it's hard this time knowing that he's an arsehole and that he basically abused his cast.
I've never seen it, but I was always a big fan of Firefly. That was
Yeah,
and,
Firefly's amazing. Serenity.
Yeah.
You know what? He's
Talented
fuck
but
you,
problematic.
Joss.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Joss. But yeah, I know Wonder Woman was an interesting property because DC's kind of until the Patty Jenkins Wonder Woman, the one with Gal Gadot in, which I'm actually not a massive fan of either. I don't know if you guys have seen it, the one that came out recently. It got good reviews. It was very well reviewed, but I think it's very bargain basement kind of origin story 101 kind of bullshit. Doesn't do it for me.
From what I've heard, I need to watch it for myself and make my own conclusions, obviously. But I've heard the first one's really good and quite, good, strong female characters and things like that. And then the second one just totally U-turns, and it's like
Pretty much.
basically like.
Everything's for the man.
Yeah, it's all just about like getting a guy back and totally
Yeah.
like sacks off everything that she kind of stood for and everything she vowed to do to get some guy back who, again, I haven't seen the film, but from what I gather, she's like was a really, really brief encounter as well.
Yeah, it was
it's not like it was a
few
lifelong
days.
partner or anything like that. It was like a fling thing she had for someone, and she just throws everything away for it, which again kind of flies in the face of the whole, the whole mantra, doesn't it?
It's still it's evidence that even in 2021, filmmakers are still really struggling to make female superheroes relevant and make them empowered and make them on the same level as male superheroes. It surely shouldn't be that difficult, because TV's doing it. Like you watch shows like The Boys. Like I've not seen it, but I know there's quite a few very strong female characters in The Boys, right?
Hashtag girls get it done.
Yes.
Well, this is it. Like, why can television and why can TV studios like, I don't know, HBO, Showtime, things like that, why can they get it right, and yet Hollywood still seems to be faltering at every turn?
The Boys was great because it had the main kind of spoilers for season 2, but season 2 the main villain is a woman and kind of the main heroes are all women too, and at the end there's just a brilliant scene where there's just 4 of the female heroes just kicking the shit out of this one female villain who's like on the floor, and they're all just beating the living daylights out of her, and it's just
That's
like
girl power.
But it's like
Girls get it done.
and it's kind of like a running joke in season 2 of The Boys as well, because the whole thing is that there's this big evil corporation that owns all the superheroes, and they own all the movie rights, the comic books, the action figures, and they make billions and billions and billions off of it. It's basically evil Marvel or DC or whatever. But they're the ones who are peddling the hashtag girls get it done, like trying to doing a really cringy bad job of female empowerment, and they do it in a way that's it's satiring the whole comic book universe, female superheroes itself, where it's literally just taking the piss out of how terribly done most female superheroes are, and it's just satirical of itself of itself.
This one, yeah.
It's a shambles. It is. It's ridiculous that we still haven't got a very successful female-led super. Because Captain Marvel's probably the closest we've got. Wonder Woman, the DC Wonder Woman, was very well received. It's got a lot of flaws, but we haven't had that standout. This is the female superhero movie yet, and it's baffling that in 2021 we still haven't got that.
I absolutely love Brie Larson, I think she was great in the thing, but Captain Marvel as a concept is just a weird character, isn't it? I've got nothing against the actress or anything. It's just it's like
she's just a bit too OP.
It's just it kind of felt segued in at the very last minute to tie into Avengers, didn't it? Like the part was acted well, and
it felt like they almost rushed the whole the concept behind it, and the introduction as an origin story. It felt like it should have probably come a lot earlier, and it feels like they were like, oh shit, we've got this big character now, we've got to insert her in somewhere. And it's not to say that Marvel hasn't done a good job with female superheroes. Like, we have a lot of, like, you think like Gamora, you think of
Wakanda, anyone.
Yeah, any of the women in Wakanda, but no leading ladies. Yeah.
Still waiting for the Black Widow.
I wonder. We'll see how that goes. Actually, that might. Fingers crossed. That might be the one, guys.
Yeah.
But I often wonder how much of that trouble that Hollywood has had with female superheroes stems from the early noughties, when films like Catwoman came out, when films like Elektra came out, and then Hollywood was like, well, this is clearly toxic. Like, this is a poisonous property. We can't do this anymore. We can't put female actresses in leading roles anymore for these kind of properties, which it's a shocking kind of thing to think about, but it probably is some contributing factors anyway. It's really notorious as well for the 2004 Razzie Award acceptance speech, which I think we're all really excited to see. I've seen it before. A very kind of infamous moment where Halle Berry showed up with her Oscar from the year previous. She won it for Monsters Ball, which is a film I've not seen, but I'm probably going to hopefully get on it at some point.
She's one of 6 actor/actresses to have a Razzie and an Oscar, I believe.
Yeah. And she did the whole hilariously, like, floods of tears kind of Oscar acceptance speech at the Razzies as well. I think she was like, you hate me, you really hate me.
Thank you, Warner Brothers, for putting me in this piece of shit movie.
Yeah.
I've not actually seen this, so...
I think what I want to do with you guys, if it's okay with you, if we can pop it on, it's only a couple of minutes long, we'll have a little watch of the acceptance speech. So if you guys want to pause the podcast now, have a little look at the acceptance speech and get back to us. It'll be about 2 minutes, guys, so we'll see you then.
Ladies and gentlemen, Halle Berry.
Yeah!
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I never in my life thought I would be up here winning a Razzie. I mean, it's not like I ever aspired to be here.
That was a classy move.
What a legend. Like, we need to protect Halle Berry at all costs. She seems like the nicest fucking person who, again, just very humble in her responses. No, Hannah, we're not back on. What do you think I'm doing? What do you think is going on right now? Hannah's just woken up from a nap. So yeah, we just got back from watching the Razzie acceptance speech. Halle Berry is a fucking delight, from what I can tell.
Oh, that seems so sweet. What a class act.
She's just got such a good sense of humor about this. Like, I think you do see a lot of actors who have these really bad experiences and are in these really bad movies, they kind of want to brush it under the rug. But the fact that she had the balls to say, right after she won her Oscar, I'm here and I'm going to accept this Razzie Award as well.
Can you ever imagine Tom Cruise doing something like that?
No, because you think most actors haven't got that level of humbleness and that level of kind of self-awareness to actually
look at
do
Rami
that.
Malek.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Rami Malek.
An anecdote.
Yeah, there's this recent thing that came out. Rami Malek, one of his old castmates, Rachel Bilson, she was in the OC. She played Summer in the OC. Oh, yeah. She came out and put a image of her and Rami Malek on Instagram from when they were like teenagers back in New York. And it was, I would say it's not an unflattering picture of him, but it was like a cute little picture of him. And basically he DM'd her, basically not saying hi, not saying, oh, how have you been? It's been years. Just saying, can you please remove that? And that was all he said to her. She had to take it down, and then he's just not responding to any of her messages. She sent like a lovely message afterwards saying, I'm so sorry for doing this, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, he's just not responded. Apparently he's a bit of a self-entitled dickhead, apparently, from what I can tell.
That's a shame. I like
Yeah, he's a good actor,
but many things.
Yeah.
And then you have Halle Berry, who's up there getting the Razzie, giving the hilarious speech.
I love the fact that she thanked Warner Brothers. She's like, let's be honest where the real blame is here. The idiots at Warner Brothers who thought this was a good fucking idea.
Good for her. Let's get it's a bit of a reality check, isn't it?
That's it.
You're rich, you're beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh no, the last thing you were wasn't very good. Like, fucking just
pick yourself up and keep going.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. So fuck everyone. Everyone does bum things or makes bad decisions or is just part of something that isn't successful. So fuck, get on with your life. Just take it on the chin and crack on.
If
It's a good egg.
If this podcast is proof of anything, is that there will be a group of 4 nerds who one day look back at the performance and idolize it, appreciate it, and talk about it for a full hour. So that's something, right?
What, we're doing this for an hour? I never agree to this.
And he's left. There is that level of humbleness that isn't portrayed in a lot of actors at the minute, and it's nice to see someone who is kind of self-aware and can poke fun at themselves in a way.
It just makes it seem more down to earth, doesn't it? You can just relate to someone a bit more
That's
like
it,
that.
yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
relatable.
you're definitely ready to come in second in a Miss America pageant.
So relatable. Why
No, but
so relatable?
it makes him,
She's a human being.
Yeah.
You know
She's
what else I've
grounded.
noticed? Every actor's parents, they grew up with proverbs. The parents always used to say something, didn't they? Very specific to them. My parents didn't give me shit like that.
Oh, no. I mean,
this is why I fail.
The movie was a box office flop, we will say. Like, it wasn't one of the worst. It's never going to go down in history as one of the worst box office flops of all time. On a $100 million budget, it made 82 back. You're looking at about breaking even, maybe, once you factor in advertising and once you factor in Blu-ray sales. It definitely was enough to kill any potential future franchises dead in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you say that, but Batman Begins came out the year after. But then again, same thing. But then again, as I said, like, is Gotham really mentioned in this?
It tried to distance itself quite a lot, I think.
It tries to be its own IP in many ways. It totally does away from all of the comic book stuff and tries to go on its own path, and it didn't work. Well, and then they go back to the classic male-driven protagonist versus male villain, and suddenly that's a monstrous success.
That's an interesting point you bring up there, Jack, because also the villain in this, Sharon Stone, is a female as well. So it has got this, like, not only is it a female-led superhero film, but it's also the female villain in the superhero as well. So there's very few. I know the only male role is the boyfriend, from what I can remember. There's, like, obviously the few side roles, but the only big role is the boyfriend, who I don't really think gets a look in either way, which... You know what? It's a ballsy move to cast 2 women as the leads, especially in 2004 when that wasn't really heard of, especially not in a massive multi-million-dollar superhero film. But you're right. Who was this catering towards? You take out the elements of Gotham, you take out Selena Kyle, you've already immediately alienated most of your comic book fans straight away.
I mean, it actually won an award at the Nickelodeon something or other, so I think it was just kids.
Kids' Choice Awards.
Yeah, essentially. And that's,
I remember... in a fucking bondage out.
Oh, God. It's just such a misguided... It clearly was a very misguided project.
just remembered that she plays basketball, but there's a whole basketball scene in this.
The basketball scene is the scene. I know. I'm really excited for Jack to see it because he's never even seen it. But there is a extended. It's like I feel like it's probably like 3 minutes long.
It's not 3 minutes.
It feels about 20 minutes long of them playing basketball and she's showing off all of her new powers. I don't want to ruin too much. We'll get into that, and that'll be a part for part 2. If you guys are ready, we could put the trailer on.
Which
and have a
trailer?
talk. So
there's 2 trailers. They put the first trailer out, and then it got critically panned.
Oh, shit,
so they quickly brought it back and released another one that had no dialogue in.
That's going to
eradicate the dialogue.
Smart move.
Doesn't make the film any better, tweaking the trailer, but okay.
It just tricks people into
Let's watch
watching
the
it
bad
instead.
one. Let's keep in theme with the podcast and watch the shit one. Let's do it. Right, guys, we will see you in about 3 minutes after we do some trailer watching. Bye.
But you were reborn by accepting all of who you are. You can be free.
We have just come back from watching both versions of the trailers.
And the first trailer did not land on its feet.
Literally, one trailer is about 2 minutes long. It has all the dialogue in. It has a very kind of a semblance of a narrative and a semblance of actually what's going to happen in the film. And the second one is just
still
colours.
very jumpy.
Yeah, and the second one is just colours and images and noise. And
it's like Catwoman.
that one is a lot better.
Kick, punch, jump. Halle Berry. Kick, drop, punch, jump, whip. Done.
But if you'd have showed me just the first one, I'd never seen the movie, I would have been a bit like, okay, yeah, fair enough, let's give it a watch. Bit of an action thing, let's see what it goes. The first one.
Yeah. it's very off-putting. It has that trope, one of my favorite fucking superhero tropes, of the nerdy, disheveled, like she's so nerdy that she doesn't know how. Yeah, the poison ivy and the I think Wonder Woman 1984 or whatever it's fucking called did it with Kristen Wiig's character. Nerdy scientist who can't even. She's so nerdy she can't even brush her hair, and it's like, bitch, like use a comb. Like, come on.
How do I use a high heel?
Yeah, it's that trope of this woman is so incapable of being a human who needs a chance again to be a fucking badass bitch, and it's just such a it's a misinterpretation of I mean, Hannah, you're the resident female here. No, I'm not.
I hate this.
You're the. I'm saying, like, as a young girl when this came out, would you have wanted to watch a female-led superhero film in which it was like this nerdy girl who's transformed into this sexy badass bitch? Would that something that's appealed to you?
I think to be honest, it was a 90s thing, to be honest, because you've got things like Princess Diaries.
She's All That.
Or She's All That, or Legally Blonde, or all these things where it was women who were at first ditzy or they were too nerdy to be anything else, and then they broke out of the shell and became something else. And I think that was probably because women were at that point starting to gain some gravitas, but they just took it in
the wrong direction.
In such a wrong, Then
why have we literally just done it again?
Well,
it's a bit of a superhero trope in general, though. It's not necessarily always women. Spider-Man's the dorky,
that's
Peter
true.
Parker
I guess.
gets bit by a spider.
Batman's
Captain America is the
weakling,
dorky, weedy guy who goes under the gets experimented on.
Then you've got range. You've got Tony Stark, Doctor Strange.
I hate how female it always seems to revolve around their appearance. It's always like this woman is. This woman's down on a look.
She wears baggy jumpers.
You can
Her skirts don't match. Is she wearing pantyhose? That's a maybe.
You can tell she's not very good at whatever she does because she looks like she's not good at. She doesn't dress very well. And then when they transform her, the transformation is, look at her now. She's got a brand new haircut. She's got a sexy bondage outfit.
In Wonder Woman, there's a scene where she tries to walk in a high heel and it's like she nearly snaps her ankle, and it's like, obviously.
Fair enough. In 2004, when this was quite new, I might let you off with this being a trope. But in 2021, there is no reason this should still be a trope.
I think Hollywood's just vain and vapid generally. I think I do agree it's more skewed towards women in particular. But you say it like things have changed and everyone's so woke now. Like Fast 4 in Avengers, let's laugh at him because he's lost some weight because he's depressed now.
It's a really good point, actually.
Because he's really struggling with his mental. You know, it wants you to laugh at it, but it wants you to feel sorry for him at the same time. And there's that weird duality of, like, looks are still everything.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. couldn't be short. He had to wear wedges to make him the same size as other people. Yeah. They couldn't allow a superhero to be shorter.
That's it, isn't it? You know, it's still all incredibly vapid and vain, whatever way you look at it. And women too tend to get it worse, but is it not just because filmmakers in general are just, it's all about the looks, and you know what I mean?
I get it. Like, most projects
That's changed.
Yeah, most projects are just vanity projects in that, and I think this especially you can see. I wonder how much of this, because Berry before this was doing a lot of action roles in James Bond, and I wonder if this was kind of her this was her attempt to cement herself as an action hero. Obviously didn't go great for her, but you know, this is the thing. Like, it's not one of those ones where I'm dreading watching it because it's going to be dull. I can probably promise all of you right now it's going to be at least an entertaining ride.
Yeah. I think it's the whole thing with this film in particular is vapid anyway, and we'll get into that when we come back to it, but the whole storyline is just
around, like, beauty products.
Essentially, beauty products are like slowly killing people, and the woman who the main evil is basically just pissed off that she turned 40. Like, that's essentially the entire plot.
That's basically the motive, isn't it?
In a nutshell, it is. Like, so the whole thing is very vapid, but
the main villain is Donatella Versace.
Right, I think I'm ready to watch.
I'm ready to watch it.
I will give a credit before we go. Most of the cats are real, so if anything, you get to see cats for a couple of hours. It's not terrible.
Are they actually real? Because
no, there's some, because she actually Halle Berry adopted one afterwards. Something got leaked to say that this cat that she adopted was actually a Bengal tiger or some shit like this. So then some animal rights activists actually started sending Halle Berry a bunch of letters being like, oh, well, I don't know, I didn't read them, but
she adopted a cat called Play-Doh, I believe.
Yeah. But some of them are real, but then again, some of them are also CGI.
You heard it here. Halle Berry is actually Joe Exotic from Tiger King.
They said they only used CGI when they absolutely had to. There were 24 cats that they trained for this.
Yeah.
I mean, the main black cat, there's 3 cats that plays that one cat.
Oh, you know what? Good for
It's
cats.
a free cat trench coat pretending to be a cat.
At least this is going to be better than cats. Let's put the movie on. Let's give it a watch.
It's going to be ever worse.
Every time I mention the word cats, Jack's just hairs spike up.
Dies a
He starts
little
hissing
bit more
at me.
inside.
Right,
Honestly, it does. I just sound like, I'll never forgive you for making me like this.
Let's put it on. Let's watch some Catwoman, guys. We'll see you in about a few minutes. We'll see. Wait, hold on.
We'll see each other in about 2 hours.
Yes. We're going to go watch a film. You should watch it with us. And once you do, come back and pop the rest of the podcast on.
We're just going to leave this dead air for 2 hours while we do it, because that's how it works, right? Welcome back to the Bad Taste Buzz. We hope you have enjoyed not listening to Liam for 5 seconds.
Liam's dead.
Liam is dead.
I'm Greg.
This is Greg.
Greg's back.
Right, okay.
We're ready? Guess what, guys? It's overtime. I don't know why I said that like Batman. I was meant it in my head. So we are just back from watching Catwoman 2004. It was a movie. It was definitely a movie.
Legally, it is a movie.
Legally, it can be defined as movie-esque. But whether it's competent, it's definitely not competent. What's initial reactions? Just around the room. I mean, it's entertaining. It's not one of these films you sit down and watch and you're like, oh, I wish it was over. It's more like, this is fully inept. I can totally see why everyone thought this was a fucking train wreck, because it is a fucking train wreck.
I can't believe it was only 2004 this came out.
No.
Yeah, right.
It feels so dated.
Yeah,
So
right.
dated.
It might have been funny in the very early 90s or very late 80s. It might have got away with some of the jokes and some of the humour and some of the things, but oh no.
I think comparing it to anything we've watched in the past, I think it's probably easily compared to Dungeons and Dragons in that kind of, very kind of juvenile, early noughties, late 90s.
Bad CGI.
Stereotype humour as well, and the bad CGI and the abysmal soundtrack.
But this one doesn't have the small budget to defend it, At least Dungeons and Dragons
Where did
was...
that money go?
I know, spaffed at the wall. Dungeons and Dragons was...
Been fed.
What?
All the people who could have been fed, all the
all that
homeless
tuna
people.
tins that they bought.
At least the D&D film was quite low budget, and you can kind of excuse some of the PS2 graphic.
Yeah.
Batman Begins came out the year after this.
Yeah.
Just for a bit of context and what a film could have been, you know? It's fucking mental.
Wasted opportunity, a lot of it is kind of a lot of what I take away from it. Entertaining train wreck, though. Ryan, Hannah, what are we thinking?
I think I've seen more personality on a Barbie than a single character in this movie.
Yeah.
They're all wooden or plastic, even.
It's stereotype cinema as well, isn't it? Like, there's not a single character that's not a stereotype entirely. Hannah?
The acting was bad. The music was ridiculously off-putting. Like, it never matched. At all. But I must admit, I laughed quite a lot throughout it. Yeah. I mean, I was laughing at it.
Yeah.
But
absolutely. Yeah.
So what? I was laughing.
It's not what, like when we watched Wicker Man and we were like, oh, this is going to be hilarious, and then we were actually bored checking our watches. Like, when is the funny stuff going to happen? It's not one of those situations. Like, this was genuinely quite funny all the way through.
If you go into this wanting a serious Catwoman, I can understand why you came away disappointed.
But if you serious Catwoman thing,
serious Catwoman.
But if you go into this wanting to just laugh at the failure that is playing out amongst your screen with some really cringy, hilariously cringy moments, then it
delivers.
Is there a single piece of good dialogue in the entire thing?
Guess what? It's overtime. Again.
Yeah, the puns are Batman and Robin-esque. Yeah. They really are like
going
on
for
the
Mr. Freeze thing, aren't they?
Same ballpark as everything, like as that sort of cringy one-liner. Not as common, not as frequent.
Her entire personality is
just,
now cats.
Just a shit.
My favourite moment was when you, Jack, specifically, the scene where she grabs that bad guy's tongue, and what did she say?
Cat got your tongue.
Yeah, just like, you literally called it.
I've never seen this film before, and I said it exactly at the same time as she did, because it's that fucking predictable.
Before we go any further, Hannah, do you want to give us a quick 30-second synopsis?
Let's go.
She's been practicing.
If I can get a name
so she's
right,
gonna
I'm going
fuck
to give
it up,
myself
I
a high
promise.
five. Catwoman is the story of a shy, sensitive artist, Patience Phillips, Played by Halle Berry, a woman who can't seem to stop apologising for her own existence. She works as a graphic designer for Hedrare Beauty, a mammoth cosmetics company on the verge of releasing a revolutionary anti-aging product. When Patience inadvertently happens upon a dark secret her employer is hiding, she finds herself in the middle of a corporate conspiracy. What happens next? Changes her forever.
Because she's a fucking cat.
She does. She does.
Not
And
only
that's
is
when
she-
she starts to live.
Not only is she like, it's not a Peter Parker situation where she gets bitten by a radioactive spider and she has the power of cats. She literally turns into a human cat. Like you compare it to animals. It's more this thing like the first kind of thing that happens is she her vision changes, her sense of smell changes. She starts walking. She can't walk anywhere unless it's like a cat.
Oh, like the catnip, she rubs that in the face immediately. She sees a little critter crawling. She has to try and grab it with her hands.
And goes through the mad fugue states as well. Let's rewind though. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Be kind, rewind.
So it opens up with some tropey ancient Egyptian
The tropiest of tropes.
For far too long.
Yeah, it was a really long introduction, and normally you'd have like a bit of the film first, and it just goes straight into the big credit sequence where it's like ancient Egypt, and cats have been here, cats have been there.
Yeah, it
cats
does
are
it
everywhere.
through the ages, but we really didn't need that because they have an entire scene of Catwoman through the ages later on.
Yeah, it makes it feel like every single powerful woman in the history of powerful women has been influenced by a cat, and that's their entire reason for being powerful women. It's like, oh, Marie Curie, she fucking cured cat. What did Marie Curie do?
Cancer.
Yeah, she discovered cancer because a cat told her to. Like, it's like, are you telling me that the only reason women? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. What did Marie Curie do? Did she just move radiation, or was that someone else?
Like the underpinnings of radiation.
Yeah, but it does this thing where it's like, yeah, every single powerful female in history, there's always a cat by her side. Wink, wink. Potential. Is that the reason women are successful? I don't know.
So what's the name of the director? Is it a mononym?
Pitoff.
Is it just Pitoff?
It's like Cher.
Like it's a mononym.
Because he thinks he's big enough to have a mononym.
He thinks he's Beyonce.
Apparently. Yeah, it's really uncomfortable montage, which is like one of like several montages. Like it's the first montage, but it's not the last montage of History of Cats. As if, but again, like it has like these weird moments. It's like random words pop up, like mummy cats or Egyptian cats. The word Egyptian is said far too often in this film, but then there's actually not very much context given to it, other than Egyptians liked cats. Maybe.
I mean, there's no context given to it at any point where any of these come from, really. This cat just mounts her like Pride Rock, breathes on her a bit, and then she's...
Yeah. Again, right before that...
the cats can see the future and knew she was going to die.
Well, this is it, right? So right before that, we open up on Patience. She's completely inept at being a human. She doesn't know how to walk in a straight line without taking out several passerbys. She doesn't know how to walk up a set of steps without falling over in most situations. She doesn't know how to dress herself, like... without being completely ridiculed by everyone. It's
great at makeup, though.
She's got great at makeup, yeah. But you're right, like, this kind of leads to the whole, like, she's kind of portrayed as a bumbling buffoon in a lot of it, and it's like, you're right, we don't have a strong female heroine. We have someone who has to get her strength from magic. Again, it's like this whole, is this film inadvertently extremely sexist when it definitely tried to make a feminist... Because it is trying to make a feminist statement throughout.
It did. Well, when she finds out that she's Catwoman, they go into the whole history of how this new person that you can become will be stronger and independent, and it's all about sort of female power, but it just, in every other aspect of the movie, it just defies that. It's just...
Because it's female power from the perspective, you said this,
It's written by men.
It's written by men.
It's like
And
I was
it's
referring...
fetishized.
Yeah, women can be powerful as long as they're sexy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because that seems to be, like...
Even the
package,
villain.
it has to be a package deal. They can't be not attractive and powerful.
Exactly.
Yeah, Sharon
competent.
Stone, powerful, attractive, competent, like sexy supermodel for years. That is the only way they know how to do women, apparently, in this film. Like, even the best friend, she gets with the hot doctor at the end, doesn't she?
You look back at like female heroines throughout time, and you look back at the most iconic female heroines throughout time, and you think of people like Ellen Ripley, Sarah Connor.
I was going to say like Joan of Arc.
Well, yeah,
or,
Joan.
like, someone fucking real, you know.
You want to go a little bit further back than the 80s? Yeah, whatever. That's fine. History happened, I guess. But you're right. These people are usually they're not overtly sexualized. Like Sarah Connor and Ellen Ripley are not. There is that one scene in the first Alien in the end where she is
She's getting in the
sexualized.
jacket.
Yeah,
It looks like she's like wanging off in it.
Yeah, but most of the time they're not. Their power doesn't come from the way they look. It comes from their actions and it comes from their decisions. This is the complete reverse. All of her quote-unquote power comes from how she dresses, which is this ugly-ass bondage, PG-13 level bondage, because it's like a PG-13 movie. It's like, what can we get away with that's not going to get us a 15 rating?
So
But
like in the
how can we sexualize her the most as possible in that space?
In the actual movie, she gets a leather outfit given to her by a friend, and then decides to shred it up, and it looks like a 13-year-old boy did it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, booby bra, let's have a look at that. Let's get those butt cheeks scratched and ripped so we can see through. Fantastic.
Fantastic. One of the first things they teach you in like media studies, like basic A-level media studies, is this concept of the male gaze, that everything is projected from the perspective of male fantasy and what men want to see, quote unquote, what men want to see. And for a lot of the time, people have tried to like dismiss that theory as like, oh, is that actually how films are constructed?
Yeah, pretty much.
Watching this, absolutely yes. Like if anything is gonna confirm the male gaze theory, it's fucking Catwoman 2004. Jesus Christ. Let's talk a little bit about Halle Berry's performance in this, because I actually think she's giving it her all. At least she's kind of fun. I don't want to go on record to say she's good.
Well, we know she's not a bad actress.
She's not. Yeah,
it's extreme characterization. Like, right, you have to be this bumbling nerd who can't do anything, and then you need to flip to Catwoman, who is all about cats and super does what she wants.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not necessarily her performance; it's the material she's given, I think.
And it's very jarring. Like, again, the kind of fugue state thing where she keeps flipping between having a shit together and knowing what's up and just being completely fucking delirious and not having any idea what day of the week it is.
You get this half-assed explanation for it.
And it's just jarring is the only word I can think of to describe it.
I think you're right, because the film doesn't really explain why she's going through these states.
The more you accept yourself, the more of the cat you become, and your mind will probably get put back together again, but until then you'll be a psycho.
And what infuriated me as well, she got her senses back together or whatever. And the first thing she didn't do was rush to say, mate, you're smearing poison on your face, that's why you're in a fucking hospital.
She gave no fuck.
Priorities.
She went and broke into a few places and did a bit of this first. And then she went, oh yeah, don't put that on your face at the end of the conversation. Put it in the bin right next to her where she could just pick it back up and put it back in her face if she was that addicted to it, which it seems to be.
That's it. So, yeah, right before this, she's bumbling an idiot. She's not capable of walking in a straight line. And then we flip to her uncovering the secrets behind her evil corporation. Is it the Halle Beauty Corporation, whatever it's called? She kind of stumbles upon something she shouldn't. She's shunted out of fucking water main into the ocean, and basically she dies. She does die. She gets killed. And then one of the most awesomely bad scenes in film history happen, where the cats all
CGI cats.
A CGI cat breathes on her, and she is resurrected.
Oh, it's just
so...
As a Catwoman.
As a Catwoman.
When you say it out loud, really in plain English, it sounds even stupider than it is on the film.
It is, you're right, this level. Like Batman Begins came out 1 year later, and the level of CGI that's here comparable to Batman Begins, for example, is just embarrassing. It's textures that just don't look real, they look rubbery. You're looking at like fur textures on a cat, and yet the cat looks rubbery almost and elastic.
And so many CGI cityscapes as well.
For no reason.
What's the point? Just fucking
film a city.
Exactly.
Go to a city.
But if you think about it, The Chamber of Secrets came out 2 years before this film.
Yeah, and that
CGI was there.
bitchin'.
Like, you could have something better than what that was.
But I think you're wondering, because again, $10 million budget. They want $100 million budget. You're right. Why couldn't they have just filmed some competently well, like choreographed? Like the cinematography is just non-existent.
There's not even enough like CGI to say all the budget went there, like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. This is the thing. It could have been. You could have played me scenes from this film, and you could have told me it was from a PS2 cutscene, and I would have believed you wholeheartedly.
If they took out all of the sweeping, shitty CGI city scenes that they did, right, I honestly think that the film would be 10 minutes shorter.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's not even like when you were in Batman and Robin and they went through the city and it was like so much so that you could, there was a conversation. It was just
I think they do this thing because there are a few buildings that look slightly weird. Obviously, the Halle Beauty building looks kind of funky and has this weird little architectural shape, but the rest of the city doesn't. And
you mean it was in the shape of a H?
Yes. Do you know how hard it is to make things in the shape of a H, Hannah? You should know. You're called Hannah.
It's just 3 straight lines.
But you're right, like, they could have just used an actual... It wasn't like Gotham, where they're trying to characterize the city. It's not like this city has any character to it.
Batman and Robin was so much better than this.
Oh, absolutely.
At least it knew what it was. It was, like, again, like the Gotham world, it was consistent with its theme.
Yeah.
It was consistent. It had
with its tone as well.
It had a... Yeah, the only thing I could argue about is the jarringness between, like, the Alfred and Bruce scenes versus the rest of the film with Batman and Robin. But this is just totally all over the place. There's got no real art direction.
No.
I still don't understand why they didn't shoehorn it into the Batman universe and just do like a Selena Kyle origin story, because people would have probably gone to see it more. It would have gained more traction amongst.
It's almost like a blessing in disguise that they didn't, though. Right?
Well, I might have actually had some good source material to use rather than have to make up some bullshit.
But
You
this
think about
isn't
makeup
based
that's poison.
in that universe or anything at all, is it? There's no.
Well, you see
there's
it now.
no-
Michelle
Pfeiffer.
Well, yeah. so,
As a past Catwoman,
so
so
bar one photograph of Michelle, it's got not, and the fact that she's called
Yeah.
Catwoman.
Bar that photo, it's got.
Oh,
fuck all
bar
to do with
that. But presumably from that photo, Michelle Pfeiffer had the Catwoman powers as well, and she wasn't just.
That's a canny assumption, rather than just a nod to the previous
The
films.
Catwoman extended universe.
According to this movie,
Michelle
she was
Pfeiffer and Halle Berry
here's all the
chilling.
Catwomen through history. Michelle Pfeiffer on the floor.
I do like
Tell
that.
me
I thought that was a
otherwise.
pretty cute Easter egg. I quite liked it. It was clearly just a nod to the older films. But
Yeah.
you're right, Jack. If they're not going to bother setting it in Gotham or have any characters from the Batman universe,
Why bother taking
Why
that
fucking
IP?
bother? Yeah, why
Yeah.
bother?
Because someone thought Halle Berry would look
Good in a catsuit.
It's
Pretty much entirely what it is. So yeah, she gets her powers. She doesn't know how to use them. She's completely fucking
Who
useless.
gave
From
her her powers again?
the cat.
And who told her how to use her powers?
The
She
cat.
just sort of figured it out.
Yeah,
No, a woman called Ophelia.
Ophelia, right.
Powers.
Ophelia, but we're going to get on to Ophelia, are we?
Ophelia
Okay.
Powers.
This kooky cat lady, she's portrayed as the cat lady. She lives in a one-story kind of cute little cottage thing.
Surrounded by apartment complexes.
So you said it was like the house from Up. It was like that she's clearly been fighting off fucking real estate agents for like that property for years. And you're right, she goes to her. Cats everywhere. The cat's got, was it Shadow the cat or was it
Midnight?
Midnight.
Sorry, Midnight. The cat is the one that resurrected her, and this cat apparently has lived forever because she sees one photo of the cat
It's Bast's messenger.
from like ancient Egyptian times, and she's like, "It's
Yeah, it was a
Midnight.
drawing as well. Hieroglyphic drawing of a cat. Midnight.
Midnight." Yeah, she runs into her kind of sexy side piece, played by Benjamin Bratt. Did anyone get the guy's name? I can't remember his name. The officer.
Oh, something Lone.
Officer Bland.
Officer Lone.
Tom.
Officer, because you were laughing at the name A Lone, or but like yeah.
No, I thought his first name was going to be like Anthony or something, so it could be like
So
A.
Lone.
Lone, you know?
And he's got about as much personality as a fucking toilet brush. Like, there's nothing really there, is there at all?
There's no sort of character development or anything. He's literally just there to fill a role, and that's the romance.
But I was saying, like, again, positive elements to this. I often wonder whether or not there were good intentions here, because we have two main characters who are both people of colour in a time where that was very, very, and even now that's still unheard of, but in a time where that was extremely unheard of. It's just a shame it's in such a shitty film.
I wouldn't say it was unheard of in 2004, but it's still,
To have, like,
positive.
in a big
Obviously,
superhero film. though.
yeah, it's still massively positive to
Yeah.
not see just white men on films,
Yeah.
but
Speaking of white men, can we talk a little bit about Lambert Wilson as George Hader, the husband?
That made me sad. I remember watching The Matrix Reloaded, and I had such a crush on him when I was little. And I remember seeing this, and it was like, oh, you're
I
not
kind
the
of
man I
forgot
thought you
his
were.
character even existed. Like, in having not watched this, I thought Sharon Stone was the main villain, and she is the main villain. But he's kind of played up as the fake villain for 90% of the film.
Probably as much as Sharon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
Until he
totally
gets killed
forgettable.
off.
He was awful.
He plays it at 11, but it just doesn't. Unlike Arnie, who plays at 11, it kind of. Whereas Arnie lands in camp, he lands in cringe, and it's just every time he's on the screen, you're like, nah, don't want this, need you to leave.
It's like a 80s, 90s sitcom where the husband and wife bicker with each other.
Yeah.
It's like, George, you wouldn't know how to please a woman if it hit you over the head.
Well, I think that's the thing. I think what this film does unsuccessfully, whereas Batman and Robin did successfully, is Batman and Robin understood what camp was and understood how to give us that camp and that flair and that kind of. I don't want to say kooky, but it's like that very garish, but in a fun way. This is garish and ugly and cringy rather than camp.
I think a lot of the tones are muted as well, like
Yeah.
colour-wise.
There's no
It's quite
colour
dark
in it,
at night
really.
when it's Catwoman. During the day, it's all right. At the carnival, that's got some colours on it.
Even that is just the ugliest fucking thing. I do kind of want to talk about. So obviously we have the husband Lambert Wilson, but the main villain, the real villain, the twist villain, if you will, Sharon Stone.
It's not a twist for us, though, because we know from the beginning.
We know from just her maniacal like looks around the room and
the fact that she cannot walk faster than a mile per hour.
Yeah, and just another nail in the coffin of this film is definitely rather more sexist than it is feminist. Is the fact that she is just her entire reason for being evil
So
is
there's
the
a
fact
new
that she's
girl
getting
taking
old.
over as the model agency's face. She's the new face of Bewleen, and she's pissed off because she's getting old, and she's now 40. And her husband wants to fuck people.
So Gina Gershon.
Pretty much,
basically, yeah.
But oh no, she took it like a champ towards the end.
She understood her.
No, but
she understood her place.
Again, it's just the men writing women that I'm getting old and I'm being replaced by a younger model, and now my life is fruitless. So I'm just going to go crackers.
Yeah.
Can we please watch a film that's been directed by a woman
Well,
at
this
some
is it.
point?
Apparently, women have directed pretty good films because I can't.
Apparently.
Apparently,
So I'm told by my female friends.
Well done, women. Good on you. Yeah, it's. I mean, her performance in general. I've not seen a film with Sharon Stone in that I've enjoyed. Like Basic Instinct's a piece of trash. That's pretty much my only frame of reference for her as an actress.
She just looked bored. She looked bored, disinterested,
Collecting
and
a paycheck.
it was a paycheck, and that was it. And she just gave nothing to it. Like
Maybe that was just a
when
lucky
Halle
evening.
Berry's slapping her, or well, rather, sorry, when Halle Berry's drop kicking her in the face, it's like someone's just given her a little tap, and she's
Skin's made a stone dummy. It's a beauty.
Living marble.
But you're right, like it does feel like she's not really invested in the movie. She kind of knows it's a piece of shit. Whereas at least Halle Berry feels like, I do feel like genuinely she thought she might have been making something here that was
man, she
genuine.
hissed at the man. Like, that takes a minute.
All of the cat mannerisms are so ridiculously off-putting. Like, there's scenes where, she walks past two dogs and the dogs start barking at her and she's like, and her friend's just like, that's perfectly normal behaviour.
No, so cringe. Not as cringe as the basketball scene, though.
Oh, we need to talk about the basketball scene.
Honestly, I nearly died of embarrassment. Like, literally died of embarrassment. It was the most horrific thing.
I think it might genuinely be the worst filmed scene of any movie I have ever seen.
It's right up there next to Spider-Man 3.
Oh, don't you dare.
It's like,
don't you dare. No.
It's next to the Tobey Maguire strut.
Evil
level of
strut
cringe.
down the street.
No, because we're going to fall out here. I actually think that's a genius.
Right, that's not the point, though, Liam.
We're going to get really off
Not
topic.
today.
I'll really quickly. That scene's genius, and it's genius for many reasons, and I'm not going into it right now. But yeah, the basketball scene. What? You're like staring at me like you want me to go into why this scene is genius.
I'm confused.
Oh, it's because Peter Parker's so good that's the worst he can be.
In Spider-Man 3,
having an emo haircut,
in
and being
Spider-Man
cocky
3,
walking down the
they
street.
do this thing where they try and villainize Peter Parker because of the symbiote suit. And yeah, Peter Parker is the biggest dork in the world, so yeah, his version of evil is going to be the super lame version of evil. It's going to be the super emo dickhead.
But does that make any less cringe?
No, but in the exact same universe, I love how we're now talking about Spider-Man 3.
On another note, Liam wears Sam Raimi pajamas for bed.
I love him. I honestly do. I actually am the biggest Sam Raimi fanboy in the world, and anything he does is perfect, and I will not have any bad mouth against Raimi. But this basketball scene it encompasses everything that's wrong with the way this film is directed, because it's those nauseating jump cuts, those epileptic fit level editing, and the music that accompanies it. It does feel like you're going to get a migraine just watching it.
It's Scandalous by Mystique, but that's like the theme throughout the whole thing. It's just R&B throwbacks, but R&B throwbacks to women.
Female vocals.
All female vocalists, but they just don't use them in any good. It just doesn't.
None of it feels appropriate.
Match. I'm not against that kind of music at all. I used to like it when I was a kid, but like,
it feels like they're ticking a box to say we've got all like every kind of vocal track as a female part.
Yeah.
It's almost like the director's fucking patting himself on the back for doing a really good job for feminists, isn't it? Again,
that's fine if you make the soundtrack fit the scenes that you're doing, because it didn't make any sense to what was happening.
It felt mandatory rather than like, oh, I bet you know what would be good here. The Scandalous by fucking Mystique or something.
And all it is her basically dry humping the bloody police officer in front of 100 kids.
Again, and all the kids cheering on. And he just flashes his abs for no reason other than be like, hey, I've got
lends to this extremely uncomfortable. You're right, uncomfortable level of sexualization in what is essentially a PG-13 movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they knew they couldn't get anything above a PG-13, which they wouldn't want to anyway, but they're like, well, let's push the boat out. Let's make this extremely fucking uncomfortable for everyone watching it. Like, even when later on in the movie she like breaks out of prison and she lands after like jumping out of a 3-story building, she lands, and then a fucking Mercedes, or it was a Jaguar, sorry, because of course cats.
Yep.
A Jaguar like boops her on the butt, and it's just like, why?
So she can steal a car.
So she can then steal a car, because she is a bit of a menace. Like, I get
Well,
that
that's what I mentioned
Catwoman.
before. It was just like,
She belongs in prison.
no, it was just like no, it was more of a like kind of down with the patriarchy when the guy stopped basically said, "Are you alright?" and she just fucking floors him and steals his car.
Yeah, that guy did nothing wrong.
I always land on my feet.
Did you think she's a good person? She didn't tell her best friend about a cream that was going to be killing her.
You become like a selfish kind of like, you do what you want to do, your inhibitions go, and you just live free like cash, aloof.
That's, I think, the biggest disconnect for me is that as an element. Like, Catwoman as a character is meant to be that anti-hero, and I get if that's the angle they were trying to go for, but it's not anti-hero, it's just selfish fucking idiot, really. Like, the first things she does with her power is she breaks up a party, she destroys...
Oh, don't get me started on the party.
Do you want to talk about the party?
Oh, no, because there's so many continuity errors, but that one was like...
It does lend itself to
that one hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah. Go on, explain what the continuity error was, yeah.
So at the start, she's like, on the balcony, like, going to fall off, and it's like a really high jump from her apartment. And she keeps looking over at the apartment opposite hers, which is, like, having a mad raging party. And then when she gets her cat power, she goes to, like, break up the party, which is suddenly on the ground floor. And she kicks in the door, and it's just, like, into a back alley and stuff. And I'm going... Did no one give a shit, or did someone notice that there's £100 million getting chucked at this film? Did no one bother?
Was it any worse than Teleporter?
Oh, the teleporting scene.
We had to rewind this actually just so that like me and Jack could like rewatch it.
It doesn't even try to explain itself. It's not like they suddenly cut to them.
Well,
like,
no, because then they do a span, don't they? They do a span of the two corridors, almost to prove that she couldn't do what she just did.
She's in the hallway trying to escape from prison, and while she's making the escape, she comes down one hallway, hides against the wall, 2 policemen round the corner. All of a sudden, a head pops out from round the corner they were behind, and she's like completely phased through the wall.
It's like no one making it gave a shit.
Literally, it is. It's like a case of, you're right, the amount of money that was spent on this project, you think someone would have went through it and edited it.
Well, I don't know who blame more, the director, the editor, or the writers. None of it was good.
It's a big mix of all three.
You know what? No, editing, I was nauseated by all the scenes. It kept cutting randomly. There was one scene where Catwoman was about to attack someone, but they were already mid-fight.
The fight scenes were atrocious.
It jumped between their faces 4 times, but neither of them moved. It was completely unreasonable.
You're right. It's
all the city flashing scenes. I felt sick.
It's a completely soulless amalgamation of quick edits, computer images that are just like Scorpion King level bad. Those swooping camera angles, the ones that like
ever still?
No,
like, did it ever just
nauseating dolly shots? Like honestly, it's just so it's an off-putting film to actually experience, and yet at the same time, it's really funny. Which is it lands in this weird place where I kind of want to hate it, but I also couldn't help myself but like it.
The funniest part, I think, for me, and maybe for a couple of you as well, is when she's got Sharon Stone's character's phone underneath her bed, and she picks up the Nokia from like
phone,
2000s, a brick phone, and then this imagery of Sharon Stone's character just comes on, turns around like the evil maniacal person in like a chair on like a...
I've been waiting for you. What did she say? It's like, it's me.
It's me.
I'm like... First of all, did you like set that up on like a stand or something? Did you do this on purpose? What the fuck?
It's not even like it could have been a video call because then she puts it next to her.
Yeah, it's so.
Like, I'm just.
And she's ringing her own phone. It's not like she has that set up, does she? Like,
no, honestly.
Fucking egotist are you?
You're right. Even as an action film, it completely misses the mark. Not one out of the action films are interestingly choreographed, interestingly staged. Most of them happen in warehouses or behind like stages. Like there's grey backdrop for a fight, and we don't really get to explore any of what this city is actually about or what these characters are actually about. They don't like cater the scenes to her abilities really. The only one that I think they kind of do is the Ferris wheel scene, which at least gets to her to explore her abilities a little bit more with the
You don't get to see her do it though.
Well, you already know she can scale buildings because in the first bank robbery she just runs around the ceiling for a bit, doesn't she?
I love that when she stops a bank robbery, that steals the jewels, then returns the jewels.
With
cupcakes.
She kept some of the jewels. This is one of the problems. Like, if you have Catwoman who's a jewel thief, she's a jewel thief. That's what she wants to do. She knows who she is. This Catwoman's like, oh no, I'm a good person, but I'm going to keep committing crimes because I'm also independent.
Yeah.
And that's not like, oh, this is who I really am. This is a badass side that just does what she wants, but she's trying to claim to be good, like, and be on the right side of the police. Like, I don't belong in prison. I didn't kill anybody.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but you stole a motorbike. You've been attacking people. You've been doing random shit. You stole a car. You belong in jail. You're not a good person.
It's the tone. The problem is the tone. The problem is the filmmakers clearly didn't know what angle they wanted to go for. Did they want this as a badass anti-villain, or do they want her to be a Batman-esque
I think they've just tried to hedge their bets by just trying to cover as many bases as possible and not really touching any of them as a result.
She's a hero, but she's not. She commits crimes, but also she's working with the police, but also she gets arrested.
I do. But again, this leads to my kind of, I can't hate this film because there are so many brilliant scenes. Like, let's talk about our favourite scenes for a little bit, unless anyone has any more topics they want to discuss before we get on to favourite scenes.
Shoot.
favorite scenes. Who wants to go? I mean, if you want me to go first, I'll go first because my favorite scene is the way she orders that drink from the bar. She's like stalking one of the guys who's responsible for her death, quote unquote. And she goes to the bar and she orders a White Russian, hold the Kahlua, hold the vodka. So she's just ordering a glass of no ice. So she's just ordering a fucking glass of cream. That's the level of kind of cringy bullshit that this film pulls.
I've got to admit that's one of my favourites. That's actually my quote because it's just ridiculous. But other than that, it would be what I've just said, the Sharon Stone one with the phone.
The phone's brilliant.
Because it's just ridiculous.
I think my two is probably the bit in the bank where she fucking skateboards on a guy.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's a superhero film, you know, the laws of physics are flexible, but it was just like, where did that come from? Like, I think my second one was, she was talking about the poison face cream that's making people sick. And she said, I wouldn't cork a sink with it.
Oh, God. This really affected
I had to Google it to see if that was a phrase. Because I
cork a sink with it.
Obviously, I know what, like, sink cork is. They're, like, the filler stuff that you put around the sink and things. But, like, who fucking wrote that?
Did you say that?
It's irrelevant to anything to do with makeup, cats.
But you're right, the way she says it, it does sound like it's like a turn of phrase. Like, have you ever heard anyone say that before?
Because Catwoman definitely, like, looks like, you know, she's meant to be this clumsy idiot, but she knows the DIY terms as well, though.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just so, again, just...
Because feminism.
I can't say the word jarring enough in this fucking thing. It's just so contradictory of itself.
Ryan, favourite scene?
I just like any scene where it goes over the top with the cat things, like when she wakes up, oh no, she's on the phone with a friend, and there's like 7 tins of tuna that she's just been picking through.
Oh God,
that was her meal for the day, 7 tins of tuna.
Because that's another bit I don't think they ever balance right. Like, and Jack, you picked up on this quite early. What part of her powers are inadvertently like she can't control them, and what part is she totally in control of? Like, they don't really ever explain why she's stealing things.
I kind of feel like it's forced in, like, this is the part of your personality that you've been suppressing, so you will subconsciously live this, but then it doesn't actually seem to fit with who she wants to be.
Yeah.
It feels like the cats have forced her to start doing these mean things.
You as the viewer want to know what the rules and limitations are of this thing, aren't you? What?
Yeah.
No, we're not doing that.
I feel like though what's meant to be the defining scene is when Midnight joins her in the jail cell and then she managed to slink her way out. That's the first time she properly acts like Catwoman, sort of outside of the Catwoman outfit. Obviously not at the very beginning, but she's still sort of figuring out what the hell's going on. But since she's found out she's Catwoman, that's the first time she acts like Catwoman outside of the Catwoman suit. And I think that's meant to be where she sort of realises the line between herself and Catwoman. But again, it's just shitly done.
Yeah, like the more you know about magic, the more satisfying it is when they use magic to solve a problem. But in this, it was very much like, oh, you're in jail, you can't be caged, you're a woman. And then the cat comes in, she's like, yes, that's me. And then she can now squeeze through bars. And it kind of comes out with left field because you don't know how these powers work.
I also think they really missed a trick by not having a god go to the jail cell and see the cat there and just be like, what the fuck? You know?
She turned into a cat.
I thought that would I almost expected it, having not seen the
I think I would
film
have liked
before.
that scene there, yeah.
But then obviously it would have contradicted the no one knows you've left your cell sort of thing, which is a whole alibi, but I thought that would have been a funny one, but no.
It's a really unbalanced film, I think, is the kind of... my final culmination of thoughts is the fact that it's just massively unbalanced tonally. It doesn't really know where it wants to be, and it is filmed, directed, written, scored, shot really badly, acted really badly, and yet it's still hilarious. So... it probably falls really close to that D&D camp for me, that film that, everything about this is wrong, and yet it's fucking awesome because it's hilarious. I'll kind of start with my final thoughts, if that's okay. It's a film trying to make a feminist allegory from the perspective of someone who doesn't understand feminism. It's a often extremely off-puttingly sexualized version of this character, and just an off-puttingly sexualized version of femininity in general.
Again, put up for a Nickelodeon award.
Yeah, right?
Far too sexual for that shit.
It borders on like kink and it borders on bondage where it's just it feels like an excuse to get Halle Berry into a skin-tight leather outfit.
Yeah.
And I feel like without those moments, because those moments never really lended to the comedy. Like the comedy was always like intentionally like a funny line. It was never, oh, this is funny because she's wearing something skimpy. They were the bits that were really off-putting to me. It really falls in the middle of I kind of absolutely despise this, but also found it hilarious. So I don't know if I could ever give it a glowing recommendation. I don't even think I would say to someone, if you've never seen Catwoman, you need to see Catwoman because it's hilarious. This kind of falls closer to that. Maybe just seek out the funniest scenes. Watch the basketball scene.
Yeah.
Watch the awful fucking Ferris wheel scene. Don't sit through it.
Nah.
Don't do it.
Find yourself a compilation of puns and just watch that. You'll be fine.
Anyone else want to go?
Oh, sorry, I've got pins and needles. Yeah, I hate it. But semi-entertaining just to sit and rip the piss out of it for an hour and 40 with you guys. But
Yeah.
was it an hour and 40? I could have spent better.
There are better
almost
worst
exclusively. Almost definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
On the scale of like Batman and Robin was still leagues funnier and leagues more entertaining than this.
Wholeheartedly.
As I would argue is D&D, Showgirls. I'd say it's
Not Cats.
It's watchable. I'd say it's on the may as well give it a watch sort of list, but pretty low on that list.
I get you. Yeah, I think I'm in the same place.
Yeah, wait till you're desperate.
I think between sort of like best worst and just worst, it falls more towards the worst.
Yeah.
But there are funny elements to it. There's again, just watch the highlight reels, watch a couple of the times she hisses at dogs and people and
I found
meows. But yeah.
I found this more entertaining than Troll 2, personally, but
See, that's blasphemy.
Well, I know you've got very strong feelings about Troll 2, but I just don't think it's very good, Liam.
Get out. And Ryan, final thoughts?
I didn't like the direction. I didn't like the editing. I didn't like the set designs. I didn't like the CGI. I didn't like the costumes. Didn't like the narrative. Didn't like that there were continuity errors all over the place. Didn't like that they had the scene at the beginning where she's running around late for work, etc., and then the next day she's wearing the same costumes and the extras have the same costumes.
You're just going to go through the whole movie and
tell us how you really feel.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of a scene that made me laugh, and I know the basketball court was really cringe, but I laughed because I was laughing at it with you guys. If it was me by myself, I would have probably just been like, what the fuck?
If you're watching this film by yourself, you're a pervert. I'm going to put that right out there, right now.
Get some,
First step on, get some friends.
Yeah, get some friends.
Go outside.
Buy them online if you
join
need
a
to.
club,
Yeah, read a book.
Find some hobbies, join it.
It was nice to see Halle Berry. It's been a while since I've seen her in something.
She's a phenomenal actress, and she always will be. And again, props to her for accepting the Razzie, and props to her for having a good sense of humour about this film.
Yeah.
So I think that's, unless you guys have anything else you want to comment on, I think that's a perfect place to end it. Yeah, and again, just a big thank you to everyone on Instagram who's been supporting us this whole time. All you guys, you know who you are. We love and appreciate you with all of our hearts. Next week, we will be covering, I think, Ryan, specifically, you're very excited for this because we're going to cover The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
The Shyamalan nightmare that was The Last Airbender.
But what we're super excited about is the 0.5.
We're all massive fans of the Avatar: The Last Airbender series, and Korra to a lesser extent. But and Korra.
I love Korra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love all my children equally.
I like Korra.
Except you, Anne.
It's
You're my
probably got
first
the
one and my
best
favourite.
episode of Avatar when they go back to the old Avatar. Fair enough, it's not Korra because it's the old Avatar, but it's in that series.
So we are going to cover Last Airbender, the Shyamalan nightmare. That is The Last Airbender.
I'm fucking excited. Make sure you tune in next week to hear.
Hey.
I don't think that one was worth an A.
Oh.
We will be covering 0.5. We will be covering the TV series and the Korra TV series. But keep supporting us. Keep doing what you're doing. Leave us some love over on our Instagram and our Twitter at Bad Taste Buds Pod, and on our Facebook at Bad Taste Buds Podcast. And just keep staying awesome, guys, and make sure you watch some horrible, horrible films with us. We will be doing some collaborations soon with the Warm Tin Podcast. Give the guys over at Warm Tin Podcast a listen to. They cover a lot of really cool B movies as well. They tend to go for the more obscure ones that we might not tend to cover as much, but you'll be hearing me on their podcast and them on our podcast very shortly, guys, which we're really excited about. But apart from that, just stay awesome. And I always do this where I don't think of my closing sentence. But
stay pawsome, for fuck's sake.
Stay pawsome.
Go check them out. We're not kidding around.
Tune in next week for more.
I hate all you so much.
For more clawful puns.
Capons. Meow.
Capons?
This is... Wait, okay, hold on.
How are you feeling about this ending?
I'm stressing out a little bit, if I'm being honest. I can't think of a single fucking pun, and you guys are just rattling them off. Like, did you plan this or what?
Oh, Liam, you must get keeping the on.
You get this film gave me a hairball.
What? That's not a pun.
Don't even react. Just let the.
Are you for real?
I'm gonna scratch your eyes out. No?
All right, Mr. Freeze.
Okay, bye.
I wouldn't bet on it.
There we go.